on the air. This is how arrogant the government is in California. This is how bad it is when one party controls any government of either party. I was embarrassing them on the air for weeks, and still nothing happened. Until the governor himself intervened and said, you know, this is getting embarrassing. And of course, it was a bunch of bullshit. None of it ever needed to happen. It wasn't even the one that bothered me the most. The one that bothered me the most was my garage door. When I moved into this house, it had a 3 garage door. Okay, it doesn't fit 3 cars. I don't know what these cars are. It fits 3 motorcycles. Okay, like I don't live in a fucking mansion. I don't want to. I live alone. Okay, I've got a wonderful house. Happy to have it. No one would mistake it for, like, you know, lifestyles of the rich and famous. Okay, so I wanted to change my 3-car garage, wink, wink, to what it should be, a 2-car garage. This took 3 inspections. Inspections? For I'm just changing my garage. Why do you have to be involved in my life when I'm changing my garage? Because if it falls down on my head, that's my fault for doing it with a bad contract.
Bill Maher and Adam Carolla sharply criticized California's controversial one-party system in a fierce discussion. The pair explained in clear terms why the state appears to be struggling, then laid out how to repair the problems they believe Democrats created. The segment delivered strong reactions. For viewers who enjoy bold political commentary, they encouraged subscribing and watching closely. They urged the audience not to miss a moment of the debate as it unfolded.
Land check and all of the above. I had to deal with all of it. And I would always say, look, if you're living in Santa Monica and you have rent control apartment, good. Vote the way you vote. I get it. But buy a piece of land. Get a home, go to the city, try to pull a permit, and then tell me how you feel about this government. Because I think it's too fucking big. And you go, what? We get rent control. Yeah, you get rent control. Go buy a piece of property, try to do a remod, go talk to the city, and then tell me how you feel.
Because you're doing this to your home.
And I've done it.
You were wiped out.
No, I wasn't wiped out. My home is intact in Malibu. Everything around it is burned.
It began with Bill Maher, followed by Mel Gibson, and now Adam Carolla, all criticizing the same issue, the heavy bureaucracy involved in building a home in California. According to Carolla, whenever someone points out how unreasonable the permit process has become, the response is predictable. Supporters mention rent control, as if that solves everything. Carolla argues that this completely misses the issue. Not everyone wants to rent, and renting is not a practical long-term plan for many families. Rent control does not create new housing. It does not speed up construction. It does not help families who want to build homes and settle down. Instead, layers of rules, approvals, and delays make housing harder to find and more expensive. Critics say California's problem is not a lack of good ideas, but an excess of red tape. Until reforms happen, the housing crisis is likely to continue worsening.
Business was doing it to other people's
Why did your home survive?
God loves me. You should know that, Bill.
No, really? Everything around you burned?
I would say 80% of what was around me burned. And
did you take precautions that others didn't? Did you like
wear a condom?
Wetting the roof?
No, I didn't. I
changed my roof since last year. I have a whole different roof.
I know.
And I have a thing that goes in the pool where you
pump it.
You shoot the pool up on the roof.
No, I did nothing in just complete luck of the draw, like the Hood, the SS Hood, which was a British ship sunk blown up by the Bismarck in World War II, and 1,800 sailors went into the ground and 6 popped up. Went to the drink and 6 sort of came.
Maher's question is direct and serious. He asks whether the many layers of bureaucracy and red tape in California have actually reduced fire incidents across the state. After years of permits, regulations, and oversight, measurable progress would be expected. However, the answer appears unchanged. While fires still burn, homes continue to be destroyed, and communities are repeatedly forced to relocate. This is where Maher's frustration is clear. If a system is designed to fix a problem but repeatedly fails, what purpose does it serve? Rather than protecting residents, the bureaucracy often slows rebuilding, increases costs, and traps people in paperwork. Maher is not opposing safety or reasonable regulation. He's questioning inefficiency. The argument is simple. When rules increase but results do not improve, it may be time to examine whether the system itself has become the problem instead of the solution.
Like, are you fucking nuts? And I realized she didn't know what was going on. Then you talked about your garage door. But the point is you got turned a little bit with your solar shack. And I said it a million times. Live in rent control, fine. Go get your own home and try to pull a permit. You'll start thinking more like me. And you tried to get your solar shack permit, and that took 2 years.
2 years.
A brief mention of Jane Fonda and the appearance on Club Random highlights a broader issue. Such moments suggest that many celebrities live in environments largely shielded from the daily impact of bureaucracy. They are rarely the individuals waiting months or years for permits and inspections. Fame alone can ease obstacles that ordinary Americans must face without assistance. When it comes to high permit fees and compliance costs, those challenges may seem minor to multimillionaires. Hiring experts to manage red tape becomes routine. This gap influences how public figures discuss policy and regulation, sometimes without understanding how difficult these systems can be for average families trying to build, rebuild, or simply move forward with life. The concern centers on how distant these perspectives can feel from everyday reality.
On the air. This is how arrogant the government is in California. This is how bad it is when one party controls any government of either party. I was embarrassing them on the air for weeks, and still nothing happened. Until the governor himself intervened and said, you know, this is getting embarrassing. And of course, it was a bunch of bullshit. None of it ever needed to happen. It wasn't even the one that bothered me the most. The one that bothered me the most was my garage door. When I moved into this house, it had a...
The most striking detail involves Bill Maher, who said it took 2 full years to secure a permit for a roof. 2 years for a single roof. The situation raises an obvious question. If a nationally recognized figure with resources, influence, and reported connections to Gavin Newsom faced such delays, what chance does an average Californian have? Most homeowners lack direct access to the governor, legal teams, or the financial cushion to endure extended setbacks. For them, each lost month brings higher expenses, insurance complications, and prolonged uncertainty. Maher's experience highlights a deeper concern. The system appears not merely slow, but structurally flawed. When even well-connected individuals struggle to navigate it efficiently, the bureaucracy begins to resemble an obstacle that affects everyone rather than a process designed to ensure fairness or safety.
3 garage door. Okay, it doesn't fit 3 cars. I don't know what these cars are. It fits 3 motorcycles. Okay, like I don't live in a fucking mansion. I don't want to. I live alone. Okay, I've got a wonderful house. Happy to have it. No one would mistake it for, like, you know, lifestyles of the rich and famous. Okay, so I wanted to change my 3-car garage, wink wink, to what it should be, a 2-car garage. This took 3 inspections. Inspections? I'm just changing my garage. Why do you have to be involved in my life when I'm changing my garage?
Because
if it falls down on my head, that's my fault for doing it with a bad contract.
Maher went through extensive bureaucracy simply to replace a garage door. That detail is striking. This situation reflects extreme red tape, where rules exist mainly for their own sake and appear disconnected from common sense. A homeowner should not need a permit to repair or replace a garage door. It is not a major structural change, an environmental danger, or a public safety threat. Yet in California, even simple home repairs can require months of paperwork, fees, and inspections. That is why Bill Maher and Adam Carolla continue to criticize the system. Their position is not extreme, but practical. Replacing a garage door does not harm a house, a neighborhood, or the environment. Instead, these rules create delays, raise costs, and frustrate homeowners who only want to maintain their property. When minor repairs turn into bureaucratic ordeals, it suggests the system has lost a sense of balance.
Inauguration. And Trump says, well, we're going to go in and we're going to change the permitting laws. Now, he is obviously a guy who just pulls things out of his ass. I get the impetus to do this. Like, why wouldn't you want to do that? He's the guy who sees a problem anywhere and he goes, I can fix that. But is there any jurisdiction for the president to override local permitting laws?
I think I don't know about precedent because no one cared and it never existed. And if you're building a log cabin in 1871, There's no court case on that. I think he can, because I've heard something about it. But the point is,
the bureaucracy issue has grown so severe that Bill Maher even joked about wishing Donald Trump would step in to address it. That comment carries weight. Maher and Trump are not political allies. Although Maher once shared a dinner with Trump, that meeting did not change Maher's political views. Maher has consistently stated that he would vote for a Democrat regardless of the candidate. However, the remark highlights deeper frustration. When a longtime liberal suggests that a political opponent might better reduce red tape, it signals serious dissatisfaction with the current system. Maher was not endorsing Trump, but expressing concern. The broader message is that bureaucracy has become so unresponsive that some people are willing to consider anyone who promises reform. When basic functionality becomes more important than party loyalty, it indicates a significant breakdown in governance.
Metaphor for government and the size of government. When you can't do what you want to do on your land that you own and that you pay taxes on, and you need to ask fucking permission from them to do stuff on your land, then we have gone across the Rubicon. We have crossed the Rubicon. And the fact that I bought a warehouse in Glendale, California, and
supporters of Adam Carolla argue that requiring government approval for small changes to privately owned property signals a larger problem. When property purchased with personal income still requires permission for basic modifications, ownership can begin to feel conditional. The traditional idea of property ownership includes reasonable control over improvements. However, when minor updates trigger permits, fees, and long delays, that expectation weakens. Carolla's argument does not promote unsafe construction or disregard for safety standards. It focuses on proportion and practical judgment. There is a clear difference between building a high-rise and replacing a door or making a small improvement. When the government becomes involved in nearly every decision, critics say it limits personal responsibility and independence. If ownership no longer includes meaningful autonomy, the principle itself may be diminished, raising concerns that extend beyond political divisions.
And pull a permit. And I went in to the planning commission of the city of Glendale, and I said, I want to pull a permit to do some building on my warehouse. And the 25-year-old chick behind the counter goes, what are you going to do with that warehouse? That I bought, by the way. And I said, I'm going to put some cars in there. And she goes, they might let you do that. And I thought, they might let me do that with my property.
It's infuriating.
It's insane, and it's huge, and it's a California thing, and unfortunately it's a blue thing, and it's kind of a left thing.
It is.
And and they're encroaching on everything. Step back.
Many observers question why homeowners cannot make small, harmless improvements to property they legally purchased and continue to pay taxes on. The situation appears inconsistent with basic logic. These projects are not dangerous developments, but modest upgrades that seem unlikely to require complex approval processes. Yet permits are often still required. Critics argue that some regulations should be eliminated. When rules appear to generate fees, delays, and penalties rather than provide protection, they begin to resemble revenue systems instead of safeguards. Each permit, inspection, and approval carries financial costs that quickly accumulate. The outcome can discourage responsible maintenance and upkeep. If regulations no longer reflect common sense or public benefit but instead function primarily as income sources, it raises legitimate questions about whom the system ultimately serves, and critics argue that homeowners are not the primary beneficiaries.
Stop making rules. I
tell this to Gavin every time I talk to him.
Just knock it the fuck off. Just leave people alone.
And he says we're doing it, but I don't see it, to be honest.
Well, also,
he says he's doing it when I confront him with it, but I don't see it.
No, because they're there to make rules. That's why they got into power. They like it.
They like it.
What I want...
That's it. They like it.
I want... my favorite answer from a politician is, I don't know. I'm not in charge. Ask your dad. I don't run your house.
In conclusion, Bill Maher and Adam Carolla reach a similar assessment. They describe the heavy bureaucracy as largely tied to Democratic leadership in California. Critics often compare the state with Republican-led regions, arguing that those areas impose fewer permits and delays. The process in California is described as complex and exhausting for residents attempting to improve their homes. Maher also directly criticized Gavin Newsom, pointing to what he views as a gap between public promises and actual reform. According to Maher, officials frequently speak about reducing red tape, yet permits remain slow and costs continue rising. Many residents still struggle under regulations that feel obstructive rather than supportive. The overall message emphasizes that promises without measurable change offer little relief, and critics maintain that meaningful reform has yet to occur.